What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens video. Today, guys, we are finally going to be starting my brand new series on doing chapter reviews of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga. Guys, I am very excited to be getting into this series. This is going to be a whole new way that I do videos. If you guys don't remember, a couple of months ago, I did the first chapter review for Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, but have not done anything from the manga besides the two videos that I did talking about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga, about Rook being the main protagonist of this manga, and how Reigns got shafted of a manga. I did those videos not that long ago. It's finally time. The manga has now come out, and I finally was able to find a site to where I can be able to read it without getting a virus, so that's a win-win in my books. And today, guys, we are going to be going over the first chapter of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga, and I'm gonna call it the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga. I'm not gonna actually call it by the name of it. It's too long of a name, and I'm not gonna ever remember it. So, yeah, if you guys want me to just call it Yu-Gi-Oh, if you're wondering why I don't call it the Rook, whatever it was called, I didn't even take the time to even write it down because I don't think it was worth it. That's the reason why. It's just too long of a name for me. But you didn't want to hear that junk. Let's get right into this. I am very excited, and if you guys have not read the manga yourselves, I will leave a link down in the description below so you guys can go and read the manga for yourself, or if you want to, you can put this in your watch laters or something like that, and come back and watch this video once you have read the manga yourself. So without further ado, guys, let's get right into it. So, what did I think of the first chapter of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga? I actually think it was a pretty interesting start to the manga. I actually did enjoy the first chapter of the manga. I will say, though, that this manga is going to definitely be a very interesting piece of media, as this manga, just like how the anime was to a lot of people, is so different. When you when you look at the first literal picture of the story, sure, the actual world itself might look the same, but the characters look so different. Apparently, the writer, and I did talk about this when I did that whole video about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga, the person that's actually doing the art and stuff like that did the Tenji manga. I don't know anything about that, by the way. I have never read that manga, so don't ask. I can't really give a review if that manga was good or not. But this whole style, just from the first page, is so weird because even though I have not read any of the other mangas, this is not only am I going blind with the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens manga being new, but I'm just going blind in general. I've only read 12 chapters of the first GX manga. I have not seen anything for Zexal. I kind of looked through the first chapter of the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, and I know the story of Arc 5 pretty well, even though I haven't really seen a chapter at all for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 manga. And then Duel Monsters, I've only seen images of like the differences and stuff like that between the anime and the manga, but this art style is so different, just like of how the anime was, which honestly, it doesn't bother me. I think it's pretty unique. I know some people did have a little bit problems with it. They thought it looked a little bit weird, I guess, but to be completely honest, I don't mind it. I mean, I got used to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens changing, the anime, so why not give this one a shot as well? But let's actually get into the chapter. It's weird because I want to say episode, but this is not the anime. This is going to be such a weird experience for me, even though I did the first chapter in the manga, which that was even hard to do myself. But it starts off with Rook running to the school store to go and buy himself the 7 burger, and he ends up buying 2, and we do end up meeting Yuga in this chapter, and he wants to have that last burger, and then they actually wind up in, which was kind of funny, they didn't immediately go into the duel, which I'm kind of glad it didn't go into the duel, because I was going to say, wow, they really throw us in right away, but he rushes to the school, grabs them, and then what ends up happening is they end up playing rock, paper, scissors to see who they got, which that's not what Rook originally did, because he does challenge Yuga for the 7 burgers, and what ends up happening is Yuga and what I will say, though, there's going to be a lot of similarities. I know in past mangas, normally characters will act differently. I feel like the characters are going to still act the exact same way like they would do in the anime. They might even be, well, we'll get into that a little bit later, but Yuga has this invention where it can basically fake someone out. So when they're playing rock paper scissors, he'll win. Like the back poster said rock, and he ends up like on the back of Yuga had a rock, and so he ended up playing paper to try and beat it. But Yuga ends up playing scissors and wins. But that wasn't the case, and we actually meet Roman and Gakuto in this scenario because Roman kind of asks about the whole invention and stuff like that, and he kind of explains what the whole thing is about, which is to fake your opponent out. And then this is where Ruck goes, no, I didn't want to challenge you in rock, paper, scissors, which, by the way, if you didn't want to challenge him in rock, paper, scissors, why didn't you say that in the first place? Why did you actually go and do rock, paper, scissors to then say, no, that's not what I wanted to do? And then basically what happens is they go into a rush duel, which I will say, though, was very interesting because there was actually a difference now thinking about it, because Ruck's actions to the card game was very interesting. He kind of felt bad because you were able to summon multiple monsters, because this was kind of explaining how rush duels work, where you can summon multiple monsters and even tributes during that same turn. You can do all that kind of stuff, and Rook kind of didn't like that, which it looked like when Rook in the anime did it, he looked very, very intrigued. And I'm going to be referencing the anime a lot because normally it's the anime before the manga, so it's a little bit weird of how they do that. And this is the first time I'm doing something with the manga. I didn't even talk, I might have did, but it's been 3 months ago, so forgive me if I don't even remember my own review. I mean, it's been a minute, but it just feels so weird that even just like compared it to, because even though they act the same, and I will say though, during the duel, we do get introduced to their ace monsters. I will say this, I'm a little bit disappointed that it's the same monsters. It's Sevens Road Magician and Rush Dragon Jagears, which, you know what, we'll hold off on that for a second. So let's kind of get back to the beginning, or back where we're at. Rook was kind of complaining. He goes and does this whole turn. He only summons Dragon Bat and 2 other monsters. Yuga goes and do his turn. He actually goes and summons Sevens Road Magician and is able to he activates a spell card to gain an advantage, and then activates his Elemental Road. We've seen this in the anime before, but if you're only someone that reads the mangas, basically what Elemental Rod does is that he sends a card from his deck to the graveyard, and for every different attribute in the graveyard, his monster gains 300 attack points. He had 3 in that graveyard, so he raised it by 900 attack points, raises it to 3,000, he attacks his Dragon Bats, Rook takes damage, and then it goes into Rook's turn, and then he does his own play where he summons Rush Dragon Dragears. The thing I'm disappointed, I will say, about this is, with the mangas that we've gotten in the past, they normally have a different ace monster. Well, except for Zexal. Zexal was a little bit different. They still had Utopia as Yuma's ace, but they didn't have like the Chaos Xyz stuff. I do know about that, actually. I do know that they didn't have Chaos Xyz. I don't even think a Variance existed in that manga, or at least I don't think. But they have the Shining Evolution, number S39, Utopia the Lightning, was the card that Yuma had in the manga, but did not have in the anime. It looks like Rush Dragon Jagears is going to be his ace, which I guess they're trying to make it like its own story of Rook, because this is also the first manga where the protagonist of the show is not the protagonist in their manga, because Yuga is the protagonist of that show, which makes this a little bit weird, because Yuga created Rush Duels, but Rook is the one telling his story. I think that's cool, and it's also weird at the same time, but I love it, because you're not used to... If this is a normal manga, you would be following Yuga's story, not Rook's. And I really like that different twist on how they do this manga, and I really do love that about this manga. And then it goes... And this is basically what the entire time. In fact, they were on the timer because Gakuto said, because he's the school president. They're basically the same characters from the anime. It's just it's a different story basically. And Gakuto is basically telling them that they're on a time limit and they are not going to be late for class, so they're gonna have to wrap this duel up quickly. And that's what rush duels are all about. And I think he even complained, or no. Well, his whole thing was weird, because it seemed like he didn't mind the drawing, but did not like the fact that you summon multiple monsters, which was really weird, I will say. And then he goes into Rush Dragon Dragears, he summons another monster. In fact, he did. The funny thing about it is that he doesn't even beat Yuga with Seven's Road, or not with Seven's Roads, with Dragears, because he attacks with Dragears. He says he won, and then Roman says like, "Well, Yuga still has life points." He attacks with the remaining monster, and it gets his life points to 0. So there was some comedy in it as well. And Rook decides either way because he was gonna originally do this anyway. Gives Yuga the other Seven's burger, and then they ended up sharing the burger together, which I really did like a lot. I mean, that shows how kind of a person that Rook is. And that's what made me like Rook so much in the anime, and it makes me like him in this manga as well. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this manga quite a bit. I will say, though, I really hope that they get some kind of differences with this. What makes it really interesting in this, and this is going to be a kind of a shorter video because you're working with something that I read pretty decently fast. And honestly, all it was really the dueling in this chapter. I feel like the dueling in this episode was longer than normally what it feels like in the anime, because the anime, it's like half of the episode is the dueling. It felt like this entire manga was for just the dueling. Like there was some stuff they did talk about, but it wasn't really that important, I feel like, because I remember when they dueled, Yuga was talking about publishing Seven's or the Rush Duels. So it seems like Rush Duels are already popular, so I don't know what in the world is going to be with the story, and it makes it really interesting. But I will say, though, I don't have any predictions. I really do hope that the antagonist that they face in the show is someone we will not see in the anime. I don't mind that it's Rush Dragon or Gears. I wish it was a different Ace monster, but I think I'll be fine with it being the same monster. Hopefully, well, I think he will play different monsters in the manga and then do it that way and kind of keep it like what's... It would basically be like how Zexal did it. Well, it will be a different story, but Yuma will still have the same Ace, or Rook will still have the same Ace monster. Like how in Zexal, Yuma still had the same Ace monster. So, we'll see what happens with that. But I really hope that we do get introduced to a new antagonist. If you want to have Mr. Goa, that's fine. But, or, you know, I don't know. I mean, you can have Mr. Goa if you want, but I feel like having a new antagonist brings a whole new point to the story, because if this is Rook's story, but just different versions of the characters, I don't know. I just wouldn't really like that, because you see that kind of a side in the anime. You already introduced these characters. What I like about the manga is they give a new story. Like in the Arc 5 manga, you have Adam and Eve and GX. I believe even though I've not gotten that far, I do know that the main antagonist is Tragodia. So I would like for them to do something like that and have like this different different character. Maybe a character like Neil, I guess, might be someone that you can go on where he's more intelligent, but you have Rook, who is his, to put it in nice words, he's an idiot, but he's a lovable idiot, let's just say that, and maybe have like this smart versus determination kind of thing, and I would really like that dynamic long. It doesn't have to be Neil, but it could be some character like Neil. I think that would be really cool to see what they would go with that. I'm just very excited for this, and that's gonna really be it. The only other thing is just like the artwork, but I already kind of talked about it at the beginning. I don't mind the artwork. I think it's pretty interesting that they're going something completely new. I do miss the old one, but I don't think it looks that bad. I will say though, a couple of shots when Rook kind of had his hand over his eye and you just had the darkness in his eye, a little creepy, I will say though. But that's part of the Rook Devil in it. Well, I don't even know if that's the thing, that he doesn't use Rook Devil in this chapter, but will he still have that power? I think he will, because that kind of associates with his character having like this Rook Devil power, so that would be really cool. We see that in this series as well. And yeah, that's really going to be it. These chapter reviews are not going to be as long as the episode reviews, just because I feel like when it comes to the manga, I can read it. It doesn't take as long to read the manga than it is just to watch the episode, so there's not going to be as much to talk about. And this is just the first chapter. I mean, there's not really much you're going to be talking about. This is just introducing you to Rush Duels. I felt like it was a little bit closer to the same as the anime as well, so maybe that's why I haven't really touched much on it either, is just because, you know, they kind of have similarities to each other. Oh, I shouldn't say the first episode of the anime, like episode 2 almost in a way, but with some obvious differences in there. But guys, that is going to be it for this chapter review of the Yugioh Sevens manga. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is going to be a very fun series. I don't know how often, well, I know that these aren't going to be every week because the chapters don't come out every week. It's going to probably be every month. So maybe what I'll do for future projects to kind of do different mangas and stuff like that, because I want to still do the manga. Maybe I'll get back into doing the GX manga reviews. What I'm going to probably do is do them in order, or do OCG structures and catch up with that, because that is a manga that is also currently going on right now. So maybe I'll do some reviews on the OCG structures manga and do something with that. We'll just have to see what happens going forward. But guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the first chapter of the Yugioh Sevens manga. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And are you going to actually read along with me? Are you going to actually read the manga? Again, if you want to know where I got the actual translated panels for the manga, again, I will leave that link down in the description below. Go and read it if you haven't already, which hopefully you read it before you watched this review. But if you just went here and just watched a review, I honestly do recommend you guys read this along with me. This seems like it's going to be an interesting manga to kind of tell Rook's own story. Even if you're not liking Sevens, just try this out because of how new it is, taking a different twist with not having the same protagonist in the anime as the same protagonist in the manga. I would really recommend you guys checking it out, or at least giving it a fair chance. I would say maybe give it 3 or 4 chapters, and if you don't like it, that's completely fine. I'm going to review it all until the very last chapter, so we're going to just see what ends up happening. But guys, that is going to be it for this chapter review. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, guys, take care and have yourselves a great rest of your day.